Hi, we're looking at an image that came from an original photo that was scanned in, and like lots of old photos, it has faded over the years, and it's very difficult to see what's going on there. There's not a lot of contrast, and if you'll notice, there's really no very dark areas and no very light areas. Everything is sort of middle tones, and it could be an interesting photo, but right now it's kind of like, yeah, what's going on here? So what we're going to do is figure out how to salvage this thing. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to convert it to grayscale, which is the fancy name for black and white. Okay. And I'm using the program Photoshop, but you can use Photoshop Elements. You can use a lot of the photo editing programs that come with digital cameras. Most of them will allow you to do the basic kind of things you do in Photoshop. Photoshop has a lot of bells and whistles, but we're using simple tools. And again, converting a photo to black and white is a simple process. And the original photo was the warm sort of orange sepia tones they call it, and that actually is a color photo, but we're going to do black and white to make it a lot easier to work with. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to adjust the black and white levels of this, and in Photoshop there actually is a tool called Levels, and you'll find something similar to this in a lot of programs. And oftentimes the only way you can tell it's a similar tool is that it has these little icons of eyedroppers, one of which sets the black point, one of which sets the gray point, and one of which sets the white point. Now Photoshop also has what's called a histogram, which is a little graphic representation of where the tones are in this thing. Now normally we'd expect a black and white photo to have some blacks and to have some whites, but if we look over here on the black part of the spectrum, well, there's really not much that's actually black, and there's not much that's actually white. Everything is sort of lumped together here in the in the gray section, if you will. So let's adjust that, and there's a few different ways to do it. The first way, and if you have this will often work just really nice and slick, is auto. The software will analyze the photo and decide what to do about it. Let's click auto, and that looks pretty darn good. Let's see here. You see there's a little thing here that says preview. If you unclick preview, it shows you the photo without the changes on it. So again, let's look at that. Auto right there just makes a huge amount of difference as far as how much information is now conveyed in this photograph. So we could really go with that, but that would be too simple. And we're going to reset the photo here and show you the other options. Now we've got the eyedroppers, one for black and one for white, one for gray. And typically if you looked at a photo like this, those windows would be, you would expect to be black because the outside of everything in an outdoor photo like this is going to be pretty light, and looking through a window into an unlit room, it always pretty much comes out black. So if we click on that with the black dropper, that's telling the computer we want that window to be black. Ooh, and it did go black. Now let's go pick up the white point dropper. And let's look up here at the sky. In an old photo like this, typically the lightest part of the sky is going to come out as white. So let's click that. So again, you can see a lot more information being conveyed. Let's reset that. And let's go to the third option for adjusting the photo, and that's the histogram, the little mountain down here. First thing I'm going to do is drag the uh, black pointer here all the way over till it touches the edges of the histogram. You can see how that darkens things up. Then I'm going to drag the white one over until it touches. And you can see we've got a much better looking photo there too. There's the original. There it is after our histogram adjustments. So we basically have three different ways in Photoshop, at least, to adjust this: through adjusting the histograms, through using the droppers, and through using the auto function. And I typically don't use auto, but on some photos it'll work really nice, but most of the time you want to play with it a little bit on your own. The black point settings often work quite well, but if you have the histogram adjustments, this is a way to really fine tune things. You can see we adjust the middle one here and make it look a little better, and really use your eyes, and always be sure too when you're making any sort of adjustments like this that your computer monitor isn't set to be really bright or really light, because that'll affect how other people see it. But these histogram settings right here, if you just move those points like I did, pretty much it's going to give you a pretty good image, and certainly it's going to be a lot sharper than what you started out with. And then once you make your changes like this, then you just save the file. You can save it under a new name so that you don't erase your original scan, or if you have no reason to keep the original scan with its washed out looking tones, you can just save it um, under the old name, and that'll overwrite it. Anyway, a good way to salvage some of those old photos and just really bring out the detail and information in them.